I'm honored to have you here, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome, friends, to our video dedicated to secret print shop of the Communist Party of Yugoslavia. Let's dive right in and uncover its wonders. During the Axis occupation of Yugoslavia, the Communist Party of Yugoslavia (CPY) operated a secret print shop in Belgrade, Serbia. The shop was located in a house in Banjica that was built and used by the CPY as a print shop from August 1, 1941 to August 31, 1944. The secret press room in the house was never discovered by the Nazis. In 1950, the house was turned into a memorial museum containing the material about all secret partisan print shops in Belgrade. The museum was closed in August 2000. The house was declared a cultural monument of exceptional importance in 1979. Let's now enter the realm of history and discover the fascinating stories it has to tell. The party started the building of the house on Banjica Venac No. 12 prior to the bombing and occupation of Belgrade in April 1941, which halted the works until May. The house was finished by the end of July 1941. Svetozar Vukmanović organized men and plans for the construction and provided new machines and materials for the press room. Through Branko Jurnović, he provided two printing machines. One was large and worked on electric power, the other was smaller and worked on manual operation. These machines were bought in Zman from a merchant and brought to the house. Since the building of the house was still not finished, the machines were hidden among the constructional material. Vukmanović also recruited people for work in the press room. He then decided to rent a house to a young couple with a maid, so that in the backyard two experienced graphic workers can work. His choices were medical doctor Mile Bosković, Zogaki Jovanović and Ljubica Jurnović. Bosković was his old acquaintance since his high school days in Cetinje. He was the member of the CPY, but unknown to the Belgrade police, because he studied abroad. Jovanović was a student of medicine in Kragujevac. She already worked in one secret press room before, and she was very reliable. Since Bosković was a bachelor, it was decided that he and Jovanović are to get married. This wedding solved the problem. Jovanović was well known to the police, so after the wedding she adopted new last name and changed her documents. Ljubica Jurnović, the old acquaintance of Vukmanović and a member of CPY, got the part of the house made and moved in the house afterwards. Choosing the workers for the press room, Vukmanović chose only the experts. He chose two workers for the press room. First one was graphic worker Branko Jurnović, who also recommended the other worker, typographer Slobodan Jović. From the tenants of the house, they formed a special cell which was directly connected to the Central Committee of the CPY, whose secretary was Jovanović. After Vukmanović left, the care of illegal press room was taken over by Ivan Milutinović, member of the CPY. This press room was a secret not only for police and Germans, but also for most members of the party. The people that knew for the press room were Vukmanović, Milutinović, or Andrijević Kun, workers in the press room, owners of the house Branko and Dana Maximović, as well as Josip Broz Tito and members of the Politburo of CPY. After Milutinović left the press room and went to the liberated territory in the middle of September 1941, Blagoj Nesković took over managing of the press room. He was a secretary of the Provincial Committee of CPY for Serbia. By the end of July 1941, the press room was moved in the house in Banjica Venac. Andrijević Kun then made a special closet with the help of his father-in-law Mihajo Ratković. That closet was hiding a secret entrance to the press room. After that, they isolated the press room with the boards, so that the noise from the machines could not be heard. Before they moved in, they solved another problem: electricity. The machine needed a three-phase current, which they installed under the illusion that the doctor's office needed it. Since the machines used a large amount of electricity, they had to remodel electric meter. Special room in which the press room was placed was equipped, besides the two printing machines, with two beds, maps of the current events on the front, radio, 3 guns and several bombs. The press room started to work August 1, 1941 by printing the first issue of the Bulletin of the High Command of NLA Detachments of Yugoslavia, which was brought in the press room by Milutinovi. Now, let's shift our attention to organization of work and life in the press room. In the house on Banjica there were special rules for living and working. Gate and the front door were always locked. Secret entrance to the press room was always open. During the work hours everybody was in the press room except one tenant who was on duty upstairs. Branko Jonovi and Jovi slept in the room which led directly to the press room. In the case of emergency they had to climb down the ladder in the secret room. They had no visitors except Branko and Dana Maximovi, whom lived nearby, in the house of Branko's father. For delivering printing materials, Jovanovi was in charge. She met every day in the agreed time and place with Milorad Radcha and exchanges the material. During this job Jovanovi used a different ID so that the police, in the case of her arrest, could not find the press room. Later, Ljubika Jonovi joined Jovanovi in this job, but they worked separately. In time, as the repression grew, the action of exchanging materials took more and more people involved. First, Branko Maximovi joined them, and then Branko Jonovi and Jovi, armed with fake-ids, followed. All the police attempts to find the secret press room failed and it continued to work regularly. Distribution of the material from the house in Banjica was taking place in the apartment in Lasin Street No. 9, where the Central Expeditionary Station was located. That apartment was owned by civil servant Miroslav Parazanovi and his wife Olga. From them materials were taken by the technicians of the Provincial Committee, Slavko Mori and Spyanka Bukumirovi, who delivered it to couriers of the committee and to the headquarters of the Partisan squad. Part of party material was distributed in Belgrade, and part was sent all over occupied Yugoslavia. Secret work of the press room gave top results. It was organized so that the people who worked in the press room and those who took over the material did not know each other. Also, the people who expedited the material did not know where the press room was located. Because of that, the press room stayed undetected and survived to large police interventions into Partisans' organization. In fall 1941 and spring 1942, because all of the police activities, the work in the press room was in stagnation, but it remained undetected. Police put in a lot of effort to discover it. They checked all the technique in all public press rooms in the city, and since they could not find anything, they figured out that the press room was somewhere in the heartland. One event that showed the police that the press room was, in fact, in Belgrade was on 7 November 1942. In the streets of Belgrade, flyers were distributed with a report on the speech which Sergei Molotov delivered in Moscow on 6 November. This speech was broadcast through Radio Moscow around 7. The flyers were all over Belgrade by 9. By August 1943, the press room printed 5 issues of the Bulletin of the High Command, 7 issues of Glas, Proeta for 1942, declarations of the Provincial Committee of CPY of 1 July 1942, 7 September 1942, March 1943 and 1 May 1943, 4 circular issues of the Provincial Committee, declaration of the CKSKOJ of 7 November 1942, different books, flyers, radio news and other materials. As we transition to the next segment, let's unravel the mysteries surrounding departure of Boscovi and gain a fresh perspective. By the end of December 1941, Gestapo began the purge of the Belgrade University. Since Boscovi kept reserved and did not declare himself about the National Liberation War, Gestapo decided him of Freemasonry. Especially suspicious was the fact that he studied abroad, so he was tagged as English spy. In the night of January 1942, German police came to the house to look for Boscovi. He was hiding in the secret press room, along with Branko Jonovi and Jovi. Jovanovi and Ljubika Jonovi explained to the police that Boscovi went to visit his cousin outside the city. Police then searched the house, but found nothing suspicious. Before they left, they told Jovanovi that Boskovi must immediately report to Gestapo the moment he returns. A week later, another German patrol came by the house and brought a new invitation for Boskovi to report to Gestapo. Party organization then made a decision that Boskovi is no longer legal tenant of the house, so he joined Branko Jonovi and Jovi in their hiding in the press room. At the end of January 1942, Andrijevi Kun came to the press room. In that time he lived in administrative colony under the fake name Antonovi, but that alias became unsure, so he moved to the house in Banjica. Since Kun was to stay in occupied Belgrade, he had to hide in the press room until a safe place for him is found. During that time he was working on making fake IDs. He made fake documents on the name Vinko Tomasevi for Boskovi, who went to Zagreb at the beginning of July 1942. There, he connected with Ivanka Musevi Nicolas, with whom he was supposed to cross to the liberated territory and go to Tito's supreme headquarters. Since they lost their connection, Nicolas and Boskovi were spotted by the police in one of their walks in occupied Zagreb. One policeman recognized Nicolas and arrested her along with Boskovi. That was the first time that the police captured somebody from the secret press room. Boskovi revealed nothing, so he was transferred to the Starogradica concentration camp, where he was murdered in September 1944. As we move forward, let's uncover the untold stories and fascinating intricacies of Germans moving in the house. After finding that Dr. Boskovi was arrested in Zagreb, members of the secret press room decided that they are not going to keep the house rented on his name because of the fear that the police may find out about his arrest. Jovanovi and Ljubika Jonovi reported to the police that they are moving to their cousins to countryside. They both remained in the house as illegal tenants. Branko and Dana Maximovi then returned as legal tenants. Secret life in the house became extremely hard. In the afternoon, while Maximovis were at work, other tenants could not make a sound, and during the winter, because of the smoke, they could not build a fire to warm. During his travels to Macedonia, where he was sent by Supreme Headquarters, Svetozar Vukmanovi visited Belgrade from December 1942 until January 1943. After a year and a half he came back to the press room. At the beginning of the May 1942, a large number of significant members of partisans from Belgrade went to the liberated territory in Bosnia, where the Supreme Headquarters of the partisans were located. In that group were all Andrijevi Kun, Vladislav and Jara Ribnica, Slavko Mori, Milada Radja, Brana Petrovi and others, to whom Jovanovi and Ljubika Jonovi joined. Work of the press room continued until August 31, 1943, when the Germans ordered that all tenants must leave the house in 3 days so that their officers could move in. They also ordered that all the furniture must stay in the house. Since the deadline for the moving of the press room was so short, and party organization in Belgrade in that time was in troubles, Branko Jonovi and Jovi had to organize moving of the press room themselves. By the instructions of the provincial committee, they moved smaller printing machine to the secret shelter in the apartment of Milutin Blagojevi in Krajinska Street number 24. Because of the fear that the Germans might find the secret print room, the provincial committee advised Maximovis to go illegal, and soon in October they crossed to liberated territory in Srem. German officers, whom from September 1943 to October 1944 lived in the house in Banjica 12, never noticed that on the bottom of the closet was a hidden entrance to the secret press room. In this part of the video, we'll be diving deep into museum and unraveling its profound impact. House on Banjica 12 was made into the Museum of Secret Party Press Rooms on 1 May 1950, which was a section of the Museum of Belgrade. Exhibition represented the work of secret press rooms that worked on the territory of occupied Belgrade. A memorial plaque was placed on the house and it was declared a cultural monument of exceptional importance in 1979. Museum was closed for the visitors August 2000 and house was returned to the successors of Branko and Dana Maximovi after the litigation with the city of Belgrade. As we venture forward, let's take a closer look at in popular culture and its impact on our understanding. Work of the secret press room was described in many books which deal with World War II in Belgrade. An especially good description was given by Dragan Markovi in his book Opisani, The Written Off. During the filming of the TV series Opisani in 1974, screenwriters Dragan Markovi and Sinir Pavi dedicated an episode under the name Press Room. In the series, the things have been changed a little so that the events in the press room happen faster than they did in reality. The names of the characters in series were also changed, so instead of Boskovi and student Jovanovi appears Dr. Jankovi, Zoran Milisavijevi and Olivera Svetlana Bojkovi. Instead of housekeeper Ljubica appears Ivona Ljubika-Kovi, who was shown as a middle-aged woman. Graphic workers Zarita Orgelisi and Nenad Joseph Tati also don't have many similarities with Branko Jonovi and Slobodan Jovi, while the character Milan Merkabuovi is the closest to the actual Milutin Bagajevi, owner of the house where the other press room was located. As we progress through this video, let's shift our attention towards literature and uncover its hidden depths. Dr. Abaković Tito u Belgradu 1941, A Belgrade Museum and Book of Yugoslavia, Belgrade 1977. Dragan Markovi Opisani. Prospita Belgrade 1977. Alexander Tadi Maj Karaja Priju. Iskrivinkaj 1985, Darinka Liki Belgrad Gradzisva Vremena. Nauka Belgrade 1995. Remember, knowledge is power. Keep learning, growing, and exploring.